Myself, Imad Syed. I represent PiLog. I'm the co-CEO as well as the CIO of PiLog Group. With me today, it would be Dr. Salomon De Jager, who is the chairman of PiLog Group. He will be talking more on the R&D side of it, which is related to the quantum AI. So this is the session. Probably you might have read that. That's why you are here. Now, we have been bombarded with this kind of terminology in the past year or so. And this is the terminology we have been surrounded by all the time, be it any of those terminology. And I don't think that anyone would disagree that Gen AI, what it has done to the normal life of a CDO, it's a huge impact as well as disruption. And everybody, if you now look at the popular keywords, even on any search engine or whatever it is, these are the most popular keywords. And one thing is that we can take notice of that, we can take cognizance of that and maybe take the right direction, or we can just ignore it as if that's a technology that is not going to rule the world. But one thing we need to recognize is that this is a disruptive technology. This is something that has changed the way that the products have been manufactured, products have been envisioned, as well as the customer experience has been envisioned. And this is the technology. But now let's just look at what is the trend of it. And if you look at the trends of it, you can see that that's important one, because one survey, and this is from all the organizations around the globe. From this survey, if you look at it 14 months ago, the piloting and the production, which is the darker blue, if you look at that, that was at a very, very low level. And 8 months back, again the same survey was conducted among the similar respondents, and you can see the piloting and production has increased, and it has increased significantly, which means that everybody is taking Gen AI as seriously as it should have been taken. Now, but what is the current state of it? 50% or more are actively assessing it. That is actually much more than what it used to be. And then 33% are piloting it, 9% is production. So that's 42% are actually moving towards production. Any technology trend, if you look at it, if it is in production, then only it can gain a lot of momentum and recognition. If it is not, then definitely it is going to fade away. But one of the things that the organizations are actually not considering is that every project that they are investing into Gen AI project, every third project is being aborted or abandoned. And this is from the surveys from several other researchers. Why is it happening? So which means 30% or more than 30% of the projects so far have been stalled, or through 2025 we are going to see that trend, abandoned or aborted. Not because of the use case was not the right, or not because it's not the right technology, but because of the foundation, which is the poor data quality, inadequate governance. Again, this is the true fact. Even though we say that, oh no, we are succeeding it, but how much value that we are creating out of is the question. But without having the right data quality as well as the governance practices, we are not going to solve the problem of Gen AI. Again, we will deeply dive into the Gen AI approaches pragmatically, but that's the. And then another one is, if you look at the other reason, escalating costs and unclear business value. We have seen the infrastructure providers, how their capital has increased to 3 trillion in just few weeks that we are hearing, and no company has done that like NVIDIA has done. So $3 trillion is actually a huge. And why? Because of the investment into it. Everybody would like to try their hands on it, and they are investing a lot of money that is going down the drain. And what we are here to tell you is that be cautious about where you are investing it. Because investing into infrastructure, hardware is one of the biggest investment that has happened in the past 8 months. And we as PiLog, who are in the industry for nearly 27 years, we would like to caution, don't waste the money, don't do the investment that is not needed. And that's what this whole session is about. Now, if you look at the hype cycle for AI, AI is still, it is evolving. It has been evolving for the past 2 to 2.5 decades, but this was a disruptive thing. What are the next things that we are going to see? We have already seen, this is as of June 2024, so which is not too old. So AI engineering is something that is becoming more and more popular. Earlier, we used to have data engineering, system engineering, IT engineering. Now it is the AI engineering. And that is completely a different skill set that we need our organizations to be trained with, accompanied with. And you can see the synthetic data is something that is also another one. Foundation models is another one. Responsible AI, that's also going to come. So we are going to see a lot more stuff around AI, but everything is driven from the data quality and governance. That is the fundamental thing that we do not have to, forget about it. So if you look at the quantum AI, I think that is going to be another disruption, huge disruption, because there are certain industries that are looking at that. Dr. Salomon, who is the chairman, he invests a lot of time and effort into the R&D of it, and he tracks the progress of quantum AI. So I would like to invite Dr. Salomon to talk about that, and then I will again take it back. Thank you.
Thank you, Imad. I still disagree. You see those clever guys? They say 10 years. That's the little yellow block. So I don't agree with that. And I'll explain that a little bit more. So 2 years ago, I think we were some of the first people who put up and said, quantum computing is the next disrupt, with data quality a key issue in augmented algorithms. Now, I think AI, last year, we repeated some of this, and AI was I think we were just here when ChatGPT came out, and look in 1 year what happened. I'm shocked. And my board members convinced me, listen, we need to adopt the AI theme and not the quantum theme, because quantum will come, it's true, 10 years time. And I said, okay, let's see. So I dug out a slide from 2 years ago for those of you who don't know what quantum is. And just to explain it in a simple term, a classical computer knows it's on or off. It's digital. 0, 1. End of story. Quantum came in, and it's actually a sphere, which is a qubit. So there's endless possibilities, which is not 0, 1, which is circling in all directions, in all stuff. And what does it produce? A quantum wave function. And that's the qubits that's going out. And those are all taking up the first element, superposition, because they're in a specific position. And what's the trick here? We can watch this, it's endless potential from somewhere else until we realize it in this dimension, and then it collapses, boom, then it's something. It's mind-boggling. So superposition is the one thing, but here's the kicker. This stuff really entangle. So they get together and they do all sorts of stuff. But apart from that, if the wave functions come together, they go into interference. So some is destroying others, some is superposition, and something is driving this. So this whole ball of stuff is really, really fascinating. So the thing that's really kicking me is when you look at those quantum functions, it's actually analog. So when did electricity come in? Let's say 100 years. And from there, we moved and we got analog systems driving a lot of technology, industrial revolution, and we got analog systems. And then all of a sudden we got clever because we introduced digital, which is a stupid little piece of silicon or whatever, which is a semiconductor, which could say you're on or off. That is, in real terms, just a digital signal is a simulation. It's a simulation, and it's a triggered one, which is a digital signal. And it's sampled. And then we got really clever, and we think we're smart today into digital age, because now we superimpose a lot of information in those spots. You know, and it just baffled me. At university, I was really, I was fond of music. And when I had a little bit of money, I traveled to Germany to buy a Deutsche Grammophon for my Beethoven symphonies, because it was true, etc., etc. And then we got clever. So later I've got everything on these 8 tracks, and then on discs and tapes and all sorts of stuff. And but it's not the analog. It's a digital simulation of the real stuff. And my wake-up call was when my boys came back and they said, "Duck up all my old vinyls." And I said, no, Dad, we're not liking this digital stuff. We want to go to the vinyl stuff. So that was a wake-up call to me, okay? So we simulating stuff. So what's the fundamentals here? Qubits are the foundation of the quantum computer. They handle the processing, transfer, and the storage. And I think that's where we're really struggling today. For a quantum computer to be practical, millions of qubits must be accommodated on a single chip to compete with the digital stuff, okay? And to solve that problem of arranging and linking thousands of qubits, researchers at the University of Basel the other day had a spin reply on the type of qubit uses, and that spin is the intrinsic angular momentum of an electron or a hole. Now that really caught me. And the hole is essentially the hole of the missing electron in the semiconductor. So the qubits based on hole spins are highly scalable, have proven to be fast and robust in experiments. And this study underscores that this approach has a strong chance in the race to develop a large-scale quantum computer. And for more information, go to these guys. It will be up there. This is 2024. This is a month or 2 ago. And if you look at that, the kick of that is we stuck with sand. And there's a long story in my mind. The materials that they're getting now experimenting, so the whole race. And I remember when we visited University of Arkansas and Fayetteville, I stumbled on some quantum computer design guys, and I had a discussion with them. And their whole work is about materials. And it's all sorts of weird stuff that they stick together to get to these properties. That's really fascinating. So does that have some analogy? And on that, I want to share something else with you. I was an engineering student, and I figured it out to this 24 example. It's 50 years. And for engineers in those days, they forced us to mathematics, 2 or 3, I can't remember, and physics. And the one thing that really struck me was this thing in the book, which was the particle in the box. And you can go and Google. When you look at the particle of a box, you had this whole theory, which states, and today we know it with quantum, but it states if you put energy in, this electron will move to a sphere, and you need to put more electricity or power in, or energy, to get it to another sphere. But somehow, some of these electrons tunnel out of the box, unexplainably. And nobody could declare it. I remember it there. 50 years later, when I checked it up, it's explained by quantum. Because everything that we see, which is waves, and there's many, many big historical, clever old books that tell you everything is a frequency. And if everything is a frequency, then you get these frequencies driving the quarks, and the quarks are driving protons, neutrons, electrons, or other particles. They are driving, become atoms, and atoms become molecules, and so we can go on and on. but the fundamental is at these wave functions. So I think that's where we miss it. But here's the thing that struck me. If you look at the electron and hole, it's a whole element of the metadata, in my mind. The electron moved on, but the characteristics of that electron that's been there is in the hole. And that's what the guys are really using right now to get the electrons, they're all over the show, to get it stable in terms of the whole processing in the quantum. And that's a long story by itself. So, if we look at the quantum progress, tying that back to the CGs, to the CDO challenge, the near quantum computers, and this comes from the Tesla experiments, if they want to have self-driving cars, those computers are leading, and they are 158 million times faster than the classical computers. It's mind-boggling. The information is something that is encoded in the state of the quantum system. It is physical in another dimension. In the quantum world, teleportation involves the transportation of information rather than the transportation of matter. And the human electromagnetic brain activity is translated for us. We do it now to digital and bioworlds, and all these experiments with chips in the brain, etc., is hinging on that. But I believe our brains are analog machines, So the analog data storage in new materials like crystals and laminating and so on, that's emerging. And that, I think, is going to eliminate this whole story of data sampling. So in PiLog, our R&D focus is really if digital data is digitally stored, which is just sampling, what's the qubit storage? And as I say, there's lots of materials coming out in disrupting this. What is the frequency storage? Because when the guys started with the digital, they had to standardize on a frequency, and I can't remember, it's a 441 or whatever, to get this stuff to talk to each other, and so on. But it's a sampling rate, in my mind, limiting. That was a standard to get it digital, but I believe standards are going to come in a new way, and something new that we need to understand with. And the role of this data quality templates or frameworks for qubits, I think the translation is actually metadata. So if you look at all the AI discussions we're having today, it says, if you really want to get to the AI, you need to be able to have, the relational data, you need to have the metadata and all of that, otherwise you can't really make anything of it. So, if we look at frameworks, could the electron holes be the metadata for analog storage in a quantum technology? What quantum mathematics and algorithms before we collapse the qubits? Because it's another dimension coming up here. And is consciousness quality control on a qubit data before the AI approval or collapse? And last year it was, what is ChatGPT and the AI interfaces? What is the relation of this race that we're facing right now and that's dominating this seminar? And you take to quantum, it boggles me. Look at all the brains here. 1 year, how did we move our thinking? It's baffling, 1 year. And that whole thinking, it's like way back when Henry Ford thought about a car. How did, in those days without internet and so on, Mr. Daimler-Benz also thought of a car somewhere else? So there's something happening, bringing these things together, which is what else? The big books tells us it's consciousness. So there's a relation between this, and if we can't see this really, it's the next one. And it reminded me in those days when I thought, Star Wars. I think way back, hello Scotty beat me up, was the beginning of the concept of a mobile phone. That was, I can't remember, when was that? 70s, 80s, I can't remember. But it's 30, 40 years. Look what we do today with those phones. So I think if you read that and you check it, I think we're close to, hello Scotty, bring me up. beat me up. And I think we will get to that technology. But I think that is another discussion. So the innovations in quantum computing, in summary, if you look at the tech innovations, you look at the software and services, you get the Amazon Web guys, and their services start playing in this. I think they really wake up. IBM is a big player in that side. If you look at the qubit design and manufacturing of that, Intel, IonQ, PSI Quantum, and there are plenty. There's lots of people, and it's undercover. I was moderating on a session, and it was a pharmaceutical company. And quantum is one of the things they explained in their term, the experiments for vaccines, and to enhance that, the whole build of new materials, it can't be done without quantum computing. So I said, you guys don't mention it. Something is wrong. I said, sir, let me tell you, 80% of the pharmaceutical companies right now are actually involved in some quantum R&D and stuff. And I think he's right. I think it's a race. It's really a race. And then the quantum machines, that's another story. So if you look at that, coming back to Imad with the hypes and so on, I mean, they're the initiation. And it's just the race that's there. You've got the hot qubits, you've got the cold atom qubits, you've got diamond spin qubits, you've got the electron spin qubits, semiconductor. That was all the initiation phase that people play around with. If you look at the acceleration side of it, the 4 Kelvin, the error correction, because these things collapse and you don't have control over it. And then everything is gone. So this is the trick. How do you control these uncontrollable dimensional things? So the photon qubits, I think photons has got a lot to play because it's light. Gate models, ion tap qubits, superconducting qubits, and transition is the quantum annexed to digital annealing. I think they're playing because we're sitting with this digital world with lots of info and we need to get the crossover. And with that, I actually want to go back to the cycle. The speaker two sessions before us was here, and I was really excited because he was excited and he said, listen people, we're living in an exciting time. This is the most exciting. We revisit a lot of stuff. It's the most exciting time to live in this world because it's such a big change. So you need to be really enjoying it. And then the last one, which is where I want to give it back to Imad on his cycles, was there was 2 guys standing in a boardroom on a table and they were fighting. And it reminded me, if you look at that, where I said, guys, we need to speed up, we need to grab the quantum thing. I said, no, sir, wait, we've got 10 years. And I said, we don't have 10 years. It's going to catch up with us. So I think we believe we are ahead of this race. I think our frameworks and stuff, specifically coming from old military stuff, and which is in this metadata sphere, and our models in terms of the data hub and so on that we've got. But Imad, that's your job. I've done mine. I think I'll see you guys sooner than 10 years. But please convince the guys that they really can go for the right stuff.
Thank you, Doctor. So we were flying 40,000 feet high, so we'll come back to our, pragmatic stuff. So that's the hype cycle for generative AI. If you look at it, the latest one is due anytime now. But if you look at it, all of that has already been achieved, and but as practitioners, as advocates of the data, we need to make sure that it doesn't go through just the trough of disillusion. It need to see the plateau of productivity, and for that, we definitely need to work together. It's exactly like, if somebody doesn't know what is the way to go to a target place, you use navigation, you use GPS. Now we as data practitioners, we as the AI experts, we are asking people to connect with us and understand what it goes into investing into AI, and understand that, and we can even do an assessment for you so that you can invest it rightly, rather than you jumping onto something and then taking the subscription, paying tens of thousands of dollars every month. Now if we go into the other facts of it, what is Gen AI good at? So now there is a race that every CDO, every CIO, every CAIO, everybody is just trying to invest into it so that they can prove the point that we are using Gen AI. Because it is as if, are you using Gen AI? The moment you say no, the value, they seem to be, getting degraded. It's not the case. We need to use it for what it is meant for. Now, if you look at the use cases of it, the use case family prediction and forecasting still low, even though the new models have come in, even though the new refinement is happening and all of that, but still the prediction, which is nothing but risk prediction, customer churn prediction, sales and demand forecasting, all of that. Why? Because the data is not there. Now, you cannot predict something if you do not have historic data. And what we are trying to do is we are trying to augment that with the synthetic data. And synthetic data is something that we curated. It's not the true data. That's also one of the reasons there. And decision intelligence, and that's something that is going to happen very soon. So far it is decision support, but we will, transform ourselves into an era which is going to be decision intelligence. That's also coming. And then if you look at the medium success rate, if you look at it, segmentation, classification, which is for clustering, customer segmentation, all of that, it's working okay, it's a medium. And then recommendation systems, that's also fine. But where is it a big hit? It's content generation. Now, if you look at the talent acquisition organizations, they have reduced their workforce. I'm talking about some of the big ones. They have reduced their workforce by 40%. Who are those guys? They used to be the content writers, the guys who were creating the job description, the guys who were doing that. All those jobs gone. And the second one is that the content for marketing that is now being generated by Gen AI. Every marketing agency, every social media marketing agency is using Gen AI. So that's where it is really a big hit. And the conversational UIs, conversational AIs. Now, if you look at every second or the third website that you look at, it has got a chatbot. Earlier it used to be, we used to call it as a chatbot, because chatbot, the prompts will end after you ask some difficult questions. But that has been now changed to a conversational AI, wherein you can ask numerous questions depending upon how many prompts that you have configured in there. So that's virtual assistants, chatbots, as well as digital worker. So those are the hits. So if any of the use cases fall under that, easily you can invest into it. But if there are use cases that doesn't fall under that, we need to do an assessment of that. Now, another thing, Gen AI has got now two different dimensions. One is horizontal Gen AI, the other one is vertical Gen AI. OpenAI is a horizontal one. It covers various things. It's across several domains. It's a broad applicability. It has scalability, it has cross-domain expertise, and also a risk of hallucination as well. That's the horizontal Gen AIs. But whereas the vertical ones that are making more sense, even PiLog has also built something that is a vertical one, because it has to be industry specific, it has to be domain specific, it has to be easily deployable, it doesn't need so much of hardware, and that's the trend, and we will see that. You can see from the stats as well that by 2027 that percentage will increase from 1% to 15%. 1% was in 2023, that will increase to 50%, which means that half of the implementations of Gen AI would be the vertical rather than the horizontal, and that does not require a lot of investment. So this is the advice that we are giving to all our customers, all whoever would like to seek advice from us. What is the best vertical Gen AI model? Because there are thousands of them out there, and each one requires certain infrastructure. Now, if you look at the Gen AI, from all our research and whatever we could collect, these are the three broad categories into which we can actually classify them. The first one is, if you really would like to have a Gen AI use case, the first one is user experience. And everybody is investing into either of these three. User experience, or you do a process augmentation or orchestration, or it's analytics or decision support or insights or business intelligence. I haven't come across any of the use cases that does not fall under one of these categories. So if we look at these three use cases from the category perspective, so user experience, NLP is already famous, NLP is already matured enough, it is much mature than what it was last year, and the local language support is also increasing with that. So user experience, which could be virtual agents, chatbots, whatever you call, AI assistants, conversational AIs, which is for the improving the customer experience. Be it the internal customers, internal users, or be it external users. Within the organizations as well, all the self-serve applications are moving towards that. So that's for the user experience. The second one is process augmentation or orchestration. And that's where also there is a great value. So if you choose one of these use cases and focus from the domain specificness of your organization, then that's where you would get more value out of it. And here, business process augmentation, business process automation, and all of that falls under that. And then the third one is that this is for the analytics. Analytics or insights, or you call it as decision support, which will eventually transform into decision intelligence because of the deep neural networks and all of that. We'll be able to do optimizations, forecasting, and all of that as long as we have the data. So these are the three broad categories. Now, if you look at what are the Gen AI use cases for the IT organizations, there are certain things that are likely wins if you invest into it. There are certain things that are risky or calculated risk. Those are the likely wins. Data quality management is something, job description, skills analysis, and all of those are likely wins. So if you would like to invest into use cases for your organization as a data leader or as a CDO office member, then these are the use cases that have been proven already. And when it comes to use cases for sourcing and procurement, where there are a lot of opportunities, and this is the supply chain management is something that is increasing, number of use cases day by day. You know that automated buying is something that is happening. For the spot buying, there's no buyer involved. Everything goes through a conversational AI, and it has all the information that is required, and the negotiations are happening there. So that's something that can be invested. Now, coming back to the pragmatic approach, now people are forgetting that, be it AI or AGI, whatever it is, it has come into existence to help humans. What we are trying to do now is that automate everything. But we say it, if we are not designing something which is human-centered, it's of no use. Now we are seeing a race from large organizations where they are just automating some of the stuff without any intervention of human. So according to us, PiLog, we recommend that you bring in human factor into it, and whenever you are designing, if you keep human-centered design as part of the AI, then that would be more successful, because ultimately AI is there to augment the capabilities of the human being, which could be productivity, which could be efficiency, which could be effectiveness. Now the pragmatic AI, this is also a very sensitive topic. Everything is not pragmatic, because pragmatic AI is solving the real use cases. I can tell you some of the organizations who have utilized, you can do a POC in less than an hour. We don't need to do a POC because it's working, it's been consumed. Those APIs of the Gen AI have been consumed by several organizations, hundreds of thousands of organizations. And what do you need? You need an API, you can integrate it. But what is the purpose of it? People are integrating that within their portals. You are going to ask the questions that you do not need. and you really don't need that. And that's not pragmatic AI. Pragmatic AI is absolutely solving the organization challenges. So it's a augmentation with the human-centered approach. So thus we have developed a model. Again, we can share a lot of insights on this. This is an AI lens that we built. What is it? It's a conversational AI. It's a scaled down LLM, which means it is a vertical Gen AI rather than a horizontal one. Vertical focusing on, at this point in time, focusing on supply chain management as well as asset lifecycle management. Those are our industry focuses, and that's what we are doing. And then it's a generative AI approach, trained contextually, and NLP model. So if you are embarking on a journey of building some of the use cases using Gen AI, then these are some of the capabilities that you will have to look at, and that has to be vertical AI. And this is just a snap of that, and we are calling it as a conversational AI. And if you read it carefully, it's an application of AI that simulates human-like conversations. Chatbots were not like that. So we need definitely conversational AI. So we need to talk to the systems so that we can get whatever the insights that are required. So for the CDOs, for all those who would like to make the right investment without draining down the investment, are you chasing AI ambition or it's a business value creation? And this is the question every CDO need to be asked, and every CDO must also go to the C-suite and ask the question, are we in the race of AI ambition or is it the business value creation? If it is business value creation, that's the right investment. Otherwise, you don't invest. And there are hundreds of CDOs or the data officers that we speak to every month on month, and everybody says that now I have been pushed down the road that I must invest into Gen AI. They are ready to invest into it, whereas 1 year ago when I wanted somebody to invest into data quality, nobody was ready. But now, because it's a pride, so that's the AI ambition. So as the community, we need to really be precise and concise with the decision. The second one is in-house development or service providers. If somebody is trying to build a team on their own, it is a mammoth task because the skills are absolutely scarce. So you will not find the right skills. Today, even a prompt engineer you cannot find. And by the way, this is a new job title. We are hearing it only from few months. AI engineers, you will not find it. In a survey that was done in India, I'm giving an example because it is 1.4 billion people, there were less than 2,000 professionals who could build something, whereas there were 800,000 respondents who said that they know it but they could not build. So I believe that we are still at consumption level. We as CDOs, we need to transform that from rather than consumption into build. So consuming, anybody can consume it. Even a small programmer can consume that for any of the app. So, but we need to build, and that's the culture that we need to bring into. Service providers, if you would like to invest into it, go to the service providers, take those vertical Gen AI models, get it trained contextually, and you pay less, probably even 1/10 of the price that you pay, rather than you have your in-house because you lack a lot of expertise that are required. Then the third thing is proof of concept versus proof of value. The days are gone where proof of concept was something. Proof of concept, anybody can do it because like I said, but proof of value. If you would like to introduce Gen AI as part of a use case, what is the value generation that we are going to do within next 6 months, 1 year down the line? Then unethical and ethical practices, and I think a lot of regulatory compliances are going to come in because at this point in time we are taking everybody's data and we are calling it as our data and we are generating some of the analytics out of it. So there is no governance for the AI, and there are several models, open source models, we take it and then we own it. So That's then AI readiness versus data quality and governance, and that was actually the title. We need to be data ready before we can become AI ready. Now this is a framework that offers, for the CDOs, it has got all the bells and whistles that are required for any organization to be AI ready by establishing the data quality and governance. In conclusion, data quality is going nowhere. Though in the webinars, seminars, in the conferences, people do not want to hear that, but data quality is going nowhere. It is going to stay here. And governance, these are the two things. Even if you are going to build the best of the best AI models in future, it's the data that feeds the AI model, not the other way around. And data will become meaningful with data quality. And how many AI models have failed? You can search for it on McKinsey or Forbes or all of that. You will see the percentages. It's really shocking percentages, and how many trillions of dollars has been wasted. Speed and adaptability are the hallmarks of successful businesses. That's why we recommend that. At PiLog, again, we have been in this industry. We have seen a lot of technologies ourselves. We have seen that, and here as well, we are cautioning. We would like to advise people that with our credentials, we will be able to advise you on that. And that's why we have actually introduced lean data governance approach, which is simple, agile, and swift. If you would like to know more about it, you can connect with us, and then we'll be able to showcase what is the lean data governance. So that's why we say PiLog is proudly human-centered, data-ready, data-driven, and AI-ready. And if you would like to have a discovery session, free discovery session, anybody who is watching online or here, please connect with us. We will guide you through the right investment into AI. So we need to be data ready before we can be AI ready. That's the message. Thank you. Thank you very much for your time.
Time for one question. I'm going to ask it. So you rightly point out that don't invest in AI unless there's value, right? So a lot of failures so far, a lot of POCs that haven't gone anywhere. In your experience, are we going to get to the point where there is sufficient value with Gen AI to make use of it? I've heard that, big people can use it with great productivity, but then they have to go and check the output, and that takes almost as much time as if they'd done it themselves, right? You mentioned small models. Maybe that's the answer, right? They're going to provide much more accuracy. So what's your feeling about, is this hype? Is it going to come down, that hype cycle, and people are going to realize, well, there's not as much value as people thought, or will it live up to the hype?
Thank you. There's great value in Gen AI. We are not denying it, but for specific use cases at this point in time. With the next releases, we might have other use cases also addressed. However, people started learning. I know of several organizations who in the first attempt they failed, second attempt they failed, third attempt they did certain things right, they are succeeding it. And there's great value in that. So productivity is there, efficiency is there, but again, like I said, it has to be human-centered. Now, everything cannot be done by machines. It has to be augmented with even humans, the other way around. Earlier, machines were augmenting it. Now we need to, humans need to augment that output, which means the accuracy checks and the quality of that and all the rules pertaining to that needs to be checked by the experts before we put it into production. I'll give you one example of it. Very large organization, $1 trillion company, they built a model investing about 20 million. They didn't go live. Don't they have the right experts? They have all the experts. I don't want to name the company, but they could not go live because of the biasness in it, because of the unfairness in it. It could not differentiate the gender equality and all of those things. So there are a lot of things. And why didn't they go live? Because of their reputation. The reputational damages are more. So that you need to be very conscious about what is the outcome that you are looking at.
Does anybody have another question? Well, all right. Well, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.